Alright, hello guys, how's it going? In this video we're going to be talking about our upcoming pattern over the next 2 weeks, or I guess the beginning half of February, as far as our storm track that we are expecting and who could see some snow during this time frame. Now, before I get started with this video though, I would ask that you do subscribe if you do like weather related content, and also make sure to check out our very exciting Facebook group on Facebook that is called Weather Freaks. I will link that in the comment section and the description. We have lots and lots of educated weather discussion, and we'd love it if you'd come join us. We're up to 1,300 members now, which is very exciting. Let's get right into the video. So this is our storm track that we're expecting to be the most common, and this is going to be the mean average of the storm track. So there will be some north of it, south of it, but on average it'll be right here dead down the middle. So I'm thinking they're going to move through into the northeastern United States and through the inland middle sections of New England and the Northeast, and this is going to lead to snow north of it and rain south of it. So let's add our first layer, which is going to be our mix layer, and in this pink area I'm expecting to have different types of precipitation in the different storms. Obviously, if it's north, you move this north, and if it's south, you move this south, but it'll always be in this area adjacent to the actual storm track. Now let's add our second layer here, and this is going to be our more snow than mix area. So we're expecting more snow than anything within this light blue region. And then we even have a third layer, which is where the most snow would fall. And this is going to be just to the north of the mix line. And this is pretty much typically where we would expect it to be. Just to the north of where the rain snow line is where the heaviest amounts of precipitation will come through, and therefore that's where we expect to see the most snow with these types of systems. But again, this could all be a little bit further north sometimes, a little bit further south, but the mean average is going to be right here where I'm showing it on this screen. Now we're about to move on and start to look at where we've seen these storms track throughout this winter, and then also we're going to talk about our Futurecast radar, where I'm going to give you guys some examples of these storms coming up. Now, I do apologize for this frame being a little bit low resolution. I found this on a Facebook group, actually the Weather Freaks Facebook group that I've mentioned a few times now. And this is actually our winter storm tracks we've had so far this season, and I think it's very telling, so I wanted to go ahead and share it. You can see all of them basically track over into the Great Lakes or the very interior regions of the New England states. And what this leads to is typically snow to the north of them and rain or mix on and below them. So what ends up happening is this is why New York City, Boston, in southern New England has very limited snow, as well as Pennsylvania, and then the mid-Atlantic practically none, because we've had no low pressure systems that led to snow track anywhere to the south of us. And this is really what's brought the lack of snowfall to a lot of regions here. And getting started with our Futurecast radar here, we're going to be looking at some GFS frames just to show you guys an example of storms that I'm expecting that are going to take this track that I've been talking about throughout this video. First one here, and the dates aren't really important. It's not really important each individual storm. It's just important that it's showing so many taking this same similar track. And it follows the jet stream. The jet stream is typically taking, the same path as these storms do, and this is going to be by Wednesday afternoon, February 5th, so this is a little far in advance, but it's showing a low pressure system taking that same track that I've shown throughout this video, leading to snow in the interior regions of the Northeast, and then rain in the southern regions of New England, again taking that classic track that we've been talking about throughout this video. Now, I'm about to show you many more instances of very similar storms taking similar tracks, and it's going to be very interesting to see how this trend just continues and continues and continues. This one's going to be by about Thursday evening, and you can see this one's a bit further north. We see some mixing going on even in the interior New England states, and then rain, on coastal New England, and a little bit of snow there for Maine and specifically Canada, and then through Michigan and some of the Great Lakes states there. This one's a little bit further north, and these ones, they could be further south, further north, but really they're all taking a pretty similar track here. This one's, again, by Thursday evening, February 5th. Let's take a look at another, and this is on February 7th, literally getting another one here. And this one's a little bit offshore, and you can see Massachusetts, Connecticut, and a bit further south in New York, Pennsylvania, and New Jersey getting in on some of this snow, but still just a very sloppy storm with a lot of rain going on with it as well, closer to the low pressure system, and it is taking a very similar track to what we've seen so far throughout this video, and usually the trend is your friend is what we would say. So we're seeing this trend throughout the past months in the wintertime, and we're expecting to see it for the foreseeable future. So we need to start learning the typical track that these storms are taking throughout this winter, and that's what we're starting to do as we head into February here. And this one was by Friday morning, by the way, February 7th. And then as we head towards February 9th or 8th into 9th, so this is going to be Saturday, late evening, we see one offshore a little bit there, but it is bringing snow to a lot of those similar areas. Again, a little bit further south with this one, but still very, very similar to this track we've been talking about throughout this video. Now we're about to move on and look at some more examples, and then we're going to look at that total snowfall on this entire model run, because that's going to be very telling as well. And then we're going to start talking about that severe weather outbreak for next week a little bit, just so I can give you guys a little bit of an update on that. Alright, so first things first, we're looking at some more examples here, and this is going to be our first one. We can see this one's taking a very similar track. We see upstate New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine getting the snow, and then rain for the southern New England states. Pretty much what we've seen all winter. This one is by Tuesday morning, maybe 8 a.m. on February 11th. Again, we're getting into the very, very extended range, what we would call a fantasy land, but it's just telling to see that we stay in this pattern. So don't pay too much attention to the dates or the location too much. Just know that they're calling for storms in these general locations throughout this time period. Let's look at another one, and this one's a bit further north, and this is showing it for February 13th, and this one's mostly a Canada and then Maine and New Hampshire storm, but much, much warmer rain further north on this one. And then by February 14th, we see this is the beginning of a storm. I just wanted to show how these ones start, and then this is how they end. Another very, very Canada-based storm here, and interior-based as well. And then it actually unleashes a lot of cold afterwards. This is by February 17th. It shows a major trough coming in after these. A lot of these storms come in ahead of a trough, and then the cold air comes in behind it, and it's just the timing is so off, and that's most of the problem, which is extremely irritating, to say the least. Now we're about to start talking about that total snowfall on this model run, which again is going to tell a very telling story about where these models are predicting a lot of the snowfall is going to go over the first half of February. And then we're also going to talk about that severe weather risk, like I said before. Alright, so as you can see here, this is our total snowfall on this model, and you can tell, like I said before, it's very, very telling. You can see there's basically no snow south of New York City and Philadelphia, as well as Pittsburgh. I just said Philadelphia, but I meant Philadelphia. I knew people would probably get on me for that one. And then to the north in the interior regions of the New England states, and then through the Great Lakes states, and especially up there in Canada, we're expecting 12 to even 48 inches of snow throughout the first half of February. And it's not like that's a ton of snow for a whole 14-day period within the wintertime, but it's really just the location is very, very specific, and it does follow that storm track that I mentioned before. So this is very telling about the upcoming pattern. Now here's your Canadian model as well from last night, and you can see it's showing the same exact thing, maybe even a little bit further north with it. So I just wanted to show this because it's still very telling, and just to see the model agreement here is very interesting. Now let's talk about that severe weather risk. Now we have a day 4, day 5, day 6 severe weather risk, and this is going to be Tuesday through Wednesday morning on the first day, and we're expecting eastern Texas through northern Louisiana, southern Arkansas, and then into Mississippi to have a pretty enhanced severe weather risk, at least slight, probably into enhanced, maybe even moderate on some of these. I'm going to be live streaming probably Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, like I did a couple weeks ago for the severe weather event. So if you're interested in joining us for that, be on the lookout. Again, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I'll probably be going live instead of actually making videos, but on some of those days, if there is another event coming up, I might be making videos. It just depends, but be on the lookout for the live streams. Let's head on to day 5, and this is going to be Wednesday into Thursday, and you can see it becomes much more of a deep south severe weather risk, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, Florida. And then day 6, I mentioned before, it showed it being a little bit further south on yesterday's video when I showed it, but as you can see, it's reaching up into the mid-Atlantic, and I had mentioned that I expected that to happen, so now it's looking much more likely that South Carolina and North Carolina get a bigger risk here, at least a slight, like I said, but probably getting enhanced on all 3 of these days, at least for some areas, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see at least one day with a moderate risk. That's typically how these winter time severe weather risks go for the deep south. Very, very typical and classic severe weather outbreak here. 3-day event, going to be very, very interesting to track this one with you guys. Again, going to be going live multiple days probably Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So this final day would be for Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina. Would not be surprised to see it stretch over that Virginia border as well. So we're going to be on the lookout for that for sure. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Again, be sure to share it with your friends and family if they live in the impacted regions, and I will see you guys in the next video.